JazzCast Pros.
Peekaboo, and welcome to the Healthy Illness Podcast. I am your host, Kelly Marie, and the Healthy Illness Podcast is all about helping you build healthier relationships while living with mental health conditions. My voice is a little scratchy, so please bear with me today. By the end of this episode, you will know where the heck I've been and why the heck I've been there. Please like, subscribe, and share. Right at the top of the show, I want to say, listen, if you are in need of someone to talk to, if you are in danger of harming yourself, if you are having thoughts of suicide, please dial 988. It is a confidential talk line, and those folks are there to listen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Go to your nearest emergency room if you are of danger to yourself or to someone else. You are not alone, and we are going to make it. And so by the end of this episode, again, you'll know where I've been and why I've been there and what our plan is moving forward. Big shout out to Jazzy T of JazzCast Pros network and to all of the other podcast hosts on the network. Please go check them out. We have some really great folks doing some really amazing things, and support is so important at a time like this. And so I stopped recording last year, not for a particular reason. I was just a little burnt out and didn't quite have a feel for my voice. I didn't know what I should be saying personally. Like Jazz had all of the ideas. She was leading me through, more like a business coach even than a producer, but leading me through how to show up in this podcast space. And I couldn't gain any personal traction. Then I attended Podcast Movement in August in DC. And after the Podcast Movement conference, I was ready to go. I had met Minister Jazz. Big shout out to Minister Jazz. She graced us here at the podcast for our first episode back in this podcasting space. And, we talked about mental health and AI and her mental health journey and how AI helped her. And that is how we met. She was presenting at Podcast Movement, and Jazz was like, yo, we've got to meet her. And I'm like, yo, we've got to meet her. So it was just incredible to be able to meet someone who, again, was very open and honest on a national stage talking about their mental health. When I say meet someone, meet a Black woman who is unashamed of showing up as she is with her mental health challenges. So Minister Jazz, thank you so much. I appreciate you spending time with us and really blessing me in my journey. And so once we got back from the Podcast Movement conference, I was ready to go. I met so many people, met some more folks from the network in person. We only kind of talked via text. And then I was approached with the opportunity to move to the West Coast. And that was kind of mind-boggling and threw me in a space internally, externally, cool, calm, and collected. But internally, I was just trying to process what that meant for me to pack up and move across the literal country. I'm still here in Buffalo. So that was that decision. But on the heels of that processing and thinking, we entered into the election space and what that meant for us as a country to have a woman, a Black woman, a Southeast Asian woman as our president, or a person who has, for anyone who was a supporter, he showed them who he was the first time around. And I honestly thought if anyone could do it, a Black woman could do it. But I'm not so naive to believe that America has dealt with its racial reckoning and its past of racism, which is still embedded in most parts of our lives as Americans. And so all of these pundits were talking about, how she could do it, but no one was talking about race. No one, and I get why, but all of these polls and people that, pundits that do this for a living, no one was really talking about why it couldn't happen because of race. And at the end of the day, she was not elected because of race. that took a toll on me, as it did many Americans, and it is still taking a toll on me. I needed to navigate that space, and again, did not have the expectation of winning. Whatever it was going to be was going to be. I did my part, but living in this heightened racial space and racial state has taken a toll. It is impossible for me to show up here and pretend like everything is all good. My day job, I lead a team of folks who work in health, and our job is to look at health outcomes and figure out what parts of society, what parts of a person's life need to change in order for them to be healthier. We have primarily Black folks, but also brown folks who are dying earlier than their white counterparts. And it's not because they want to die early, right? The people aren't growing up saying, I can't wait to lose 12 years of my life to these social conditions around me, whether it's housing, whether it's education, whether it's access to healthcare. No one's walking around saying that. And yet here we are in this place where folks are still dying, and we have a person who half of the country voted for, who does not believe in so many, many things that are actually proven to be true. And don't be surprised, or don't be caught up in what is being presented on TV. All of that is a distraction for whatever is happening, but also the things that are happening on TV are real. And so we have to figure out how to deal with this lack of funding. We have to figure out how to deal with folks, first of all, American citizens being picked up and detained. This has happened before. We have to deal with people that have come to the country legally being picked up and detained. This has happened before. And folks looking to pursue the American dream who are coming here. And side note, I don't believe in the American dream, but that's not the point. And so here we are in this space of finally acknowledging all of the things that people, mostly Black folks, have been saying are real, that we have been trying to get people to see about our country and our society. And this is not even including taking a step back in American history. Our Indigenous brothers and sisters whose land we live on. None of that is being taken in consideration. And yet here we are. And so I had planned to come back at the beginning of the year, and I couldn't. I just didn't have the words, even knowing where we are was likely to happen. I'm not surprised. I am not surprised that this is where we are. And perhaps that means people who have been asleep, who have not been paying attention, who believe that they have been civically engaged and civically active, actually see how the country works, actually sees what people believe to be true, and they will then begin to rebuild in a way that makes sense. Yet and still here we are. So I really didn't have the words to come back and have a podcast talking about mental health conditions, even though I know it's something that you've asked for and something I have not delivered on. I apologize, not from my journey perspective, but I apologize because for those of us that do this work, a lot of us collectively needed time to process, to heal, and to transition into this new space that we're in. And I was in that space. I work in what is considered upstream work in my day job, and working on macro issues like policies and not really programs, but the reasons why, also called root causes, the reasons why people have these health outcomes. But I don't really work one-on-one with folks outside of mental health coaching, and I needed something more. And so last year, I was able to participate in a series of trainings to become a birth doula. I wanted to be able to give back to people that give birth, to moms and people who live across the gender spectrum help them, if they so choose, to bring life into this world in a way that is comforting in a very uncomfortable world. And so I became a birth doula, and I've been doing birth doula work since December. And that is the other side of my kind of seesaw of work in health and health disparities. It's helping people have the most holistically positive birth experience possible. And that has taken a lot of my time as well. And so balancing out this macro and micro life, as well as living life and making sure that I'm okay to be able to pour into these families and into my team, has been all that I've been able to manage. I know you get that, but I wanted to explain to you and just take time out and talk about where I've been and why I've been in these places and not been here present with you. And so I thank you for uplifting me, for reaching out. Big shout out to Victoria, who is always checking on me, to Annette, who's always checking on me, to Amia, who is always checking on me, to Robert, who is always checking on me, to my mom, who is always checking on me, and of course, Jazz, who is always checking on me and making sure that, I'm managing well and doing okay and doing all of the things. And for that, I appreciate them. There's a special group of folks that check on me and make sure I'm okay on a regular basis. And that's my Impacting Love Global Ministries family. So a big shout out to my pastor, Apostle Garney Davis Jr., to Pastor Latricia Clarissa Davis, to Elder Deidre Trueheart, and to Elder Sylvia Wallace. They have really been holding me down from a spiritual perspective, and I needed that. And so I wanted to not only share me and where I am, but also to call out the folks that have been there for me day in and day out, no matter how I'm feeling, no matter what it looks like, no matter if I'm crying or asleep or doing the work, right? Everyone has picked up their part that they play in my life, and I appreciate them so much. To that end, if you don't have a network, if you don't have a group of folks or a one folk, right, that's there for you, it's so necessary to have people engagement. It's so necessary to have folks that you can rely on. Many people don't have family to rely on and to call family. And so in this time and space that we find ourselves in, you have to have a support system. And if you don't have one, some ways to begin to find people that are your people is to join clubs and organizations, to join a faith group. It doesn't have to be a church. While I am a minister, I am not very religious. I am spiritual, but the structure of religion and the lack of freedom in religion, the constrictiveness of it, is something that I don't agree with. And even in that, I'm able to find a group of people who accept me as I am and meet me where I am. And we have incredible conversations around those topics in a space that is healthy, in a space that is judgment free. And I know that most folks don't have that. And because of that, I know that I'm very blessed. I'm very well seen after, because I have these groups of people in my life. A few years ago, I was in a program called Leadership Buffalo. And there are leadership, insert city names, across the country where leaders from across that particular demographic area get together and they learn about the area itself and leadership techniques and the systems that work and how they work. And our Leadership Buffalo program is really incredible and is led by a woman, Morgan, who took the reins over in the post-Althea era And she has come in and really, she and I were in the same class, and she has come in and seen and heard the places and spaces where we need to have some truly real and dynamic conversations. And I just want to take a moment and uplift her, specifically Morgan Bryant. And I want to give a shout out to my Leadership Buffalo crew. In this space, we were supposed to get together a couple weeks ago, and I just was not. I was weepy and all over the place, and I'm about to get weepy right now. And so I let them know that I wasn't feeling well, and that was okay. I just needed time, and it was not a good day to get together for drinks and laugh and talk. They all kind of agreed, but without me knowing, they got together and got me dinner and dropped dinner off at my house just to say I love you and just let me know that they care about me. And they got together and brought me dinner and dropped it off at the house. You know, no asking, no pretense, no, payback or anything. And a big shout out to Gwen and Jen and Julianne. I can't even talk about it. It's a very emotional moment for me. Clearly still is. I didn't think it was, because I know that I'm not alone. And even though we haven't seen each other as a group in, it might even be 2 years or longer than that. I don't know. But we all got together in 2017 as a part of this Leadership Buffalo class, and we all hit it off. And so I share that with you because, one, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable and sharing where you are and how you're feeling with people. Folks can't help if they don't know they need help. And, I have people that are like, well, if you care about me and you know me, you know when and where I need help. I'm not a mind reader. Quite frankly, I'm dealing with my own shit. But if you tell me that you need me or need something, then I can adjust and be there, right? And so we have to get past assuming people know what we need and let folks know, even if it's something simple as a hug or a high five or just check in on me from time to time. We have to be okay being uncomfortable and being vulnerable. There's no other way for people to know that it's time to show up for you if you don't let them know it's time to show up. And so big shout out to everyone, because everyone has been there. Many of them see the signs and know me well enough to know, usually when something's off and I haven't recognized it yet because of the signs that they see. Even my pharmacist, so big shout out to pharmacy guy at Rite Aid on Niagara, because I went in to go pick up medication and he's like, "Hey, Kelly, how you doing today? You all right?" I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, like, do I have a sign on my face? Like, how do you know that today is not a good day for me? And he's like, "Oh, you normally come in here and, you're a little more upbeat." So even people that you don't know well, if you see them often enough, they get to know you even for a quick 3-minute interaction. You can leave an imprint. You leave an impression with folks. And so I share that with you to say, you got to share the real you with people. Otherwise, they don't get to know you and don't know how they can show up for you. So I'm going to leave you with that for our episode in time today. We will have more episodes this season around what it is to be a doula, what birth doula-ing means, and what it looks like. I've met some incredible people on this journey, and I want to bring them on the show. I haven't asked them yet, so I don't want to just drop their names out there and then they'd be like, "No, thank you." But I do have a couple folks that I have met in my travels, and I want to introduce them to you and this doula movement that is sweeping the U.S. I say sweeping the U.S., but we've got small pockets of folks committed to increasing birth outcomes and helping moms and birthing people where they are and providing them with coaching and support so that they can have the type of birthing experience that they desire and deserve. So more to come on all things doula, more to come on life in progress. So many things have been happening and we just don't have enough time in our short time together to be able to go through all of the things. So all of the things are coming. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for staying with me. Thank you so much for checking in. Thank you so much for being there. Thank you so much for sharing the podcast. Just thank you. I appreciate you so much. Again, if you are in need of someone to talk to, if you are in need of an ear, if you are experiencing some mental health challenges or need someone to talk to, please dial 988. They're 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My prayer is that this will not be one of the services that loses funding, because it is so necessary and integral to the lives of folks like me to be able to have someone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to reach out to and talk to in a time of need. So until the next time, I encourage you to be the light, to find someone somewhere and just be that spark of hope that we'll be able to make it through, and we'll be able to make it through together. Peace.